Hey, everybody, welcome back to this week's podcast episode. I am super excited to have my next guest. This month, we've been talking about relationships, and I talked about siblings, I talked about family, I talked about boundaries, I talked about some of my own struggles with like a support system and all of that. And so this week it's on friendship. And so my guest is my very best friend in the flesh, or just audio if you're listening to the audio. Linda Marr, yay!
Hello.
And I have to tell you, this is true friendship. I feel like I can say this and then we don't have to talk anymore about the podcast because this encompasses the whole thing. So Linda, I was literally like, Linda, you have to do me a favor. I was going to interview another special needs mom for this, just to talk about friendships and special needs mothering. They had a family crisis. So I was like, you have to do me a favor. You have to come on the podcast and talk about friendship. And so she's here immediately after getting dental work done the day before Thanksgiving, taking time out to come on my podcast.
There's only certain words I can't say, and she knows what they are. So don't ask me. I still have Novocaine.
She's still so numb. So I'm going to make sure that I totally make her lisp this whole time. I mean, what kind of friend would I be if I didn't do that?
Well, I'm going to do my PSA for wear your mouth guard, because I chipped a crown because I was not wearing my mouth guard. So wear your mouth guard, people, if you have one.
And safety she just told me I have to get one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So Linda,
yes.
You and I have known each other, I don't know how many years now. I feel like we've talked about this before.
I know.
But our friendship just kind of evolved over time through some traumatic lived experiences.
And some fun ones. Bahamas.
Yeah. Mission work in the Bahamas. That was really fun. We've walked through some medical crises with mutual friends that just kind of kept putting us in each other's way. I'm in your way, Linda. God was like, Linda, you need to be friends with this woman. She's crazy and you can handle her.
It's not even funny, because I was thinking back, and one of the things I prayed for years ago was friends, Christian friends that I could share my faith with, because I had some friends that were great friends, but I could not share my faith with them. And I mean, you know what I mean? Like share in faith together.
Yeah, if they knew that you were a Christian, you weren't embarrassed to say I love Jesus, but you couldn't share that as a
shared experiences and that kind of stuff. Right. And we've had some of those too, like at conferences and worship, amazing worship times. Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome. So what, just from a friendship perspective, I think all relationships are hard. I could sit here and be like, friendships are hard, but then, tomorrow's Thanksgiving. So families are hard. We're all going to experience that. What has been your experience, especially as a woman, grown up? I feel like the adult relationships kind of change, and sort of, for me, at least, it's changed over even my kids, the ages of my kids, when I was a young mom, when I kind of had, middle kids. Now I'm the kids are more adults, which yours are as well. So, what has been your experience with friendships? Not just with me, because I know I'm fabulous.
Perfect. I can't swallow either. So if I take a long break, it's because I'm trying to swallow. With
half of your mouth is numb.
Well, I think you hit upon something very, very apropos, very true in your last podcast about having boundaries within yourself with relationships, how you relate to feedback, how one relates, not you specifically, but how one relates to feedback and boundaries and things like that. So I think that's very important. As we get older, we know ourselves better. And I think that can change the way we're not necessarily willing to put up with so much nonsense. And I think what I'm finding, as I'm a little bit older than Cammie, don't let her fool you, not very much older. We're not going to get into years, but all right, I am. I
have way more gray hair though, so it's fine. Well, we balance each other out.
In really, I have a lot of acquaintances and I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends, but it's opposed to having really good friends that you can be yourself with and that you can not talk. I think we've talked about that. We've talked about not talking, that you can be very, very comfortable with. That's where I want to invest my time and want to people I want to be with, as opposed to maybe like friends because our kids were in the same class. Maybe we really didn't have anything in common, but we saw each other at the bus stop or things like that. Neighbors, I have great friends that are neighbors. But also, I have some other people that I'm maybe friends with, but not in that same deep level.
And I think too, we're not meant to go deep with a lot of
Yeah.
people, and I think that's important to kind of know
Boundary.
that, yeah, it's important to be like, it's okay. I can still be in
Mhm.
relationship with this person.
Mhm.
Know that like, it's not going to go beyond sort of that surface or, transactional is what I was going to say. And that's not the right word,
Mhm.
but more like where I go somewhere, right? Like this is my church friend, let's
Mhm.
say, or this is my,
Jim.
my gym friend, right? Or this is my work friend, right? My colleague at work, and we get along great and we work really well together. But beyond that, maybe it doesn't have to be more than that. It doesn't take away from the relationship that you do have with that person.
And maybe some of that happened. We've all been forced to deal with that with COVID because work friends, most of us don't have them anymore, or, are not going into the office in the same way. For a while, and people weren't going to the gym, so we weren't getting together with friends to go out to dinner. Things like that. So you kind of had to reevaluate, and we were forced to take our circle smaller. Our family.
You couldn't keep up with 50 people.
Right. Well, and you
Right.
couldn't be safe with 50 people. You could keep up social media wise and that kind of stuff. But, nobody was having Christmas parties last year or open houses, things like that. So, we chose to include each other in our pod because we knew vaccination status and safety status and things like that. But that was a pretty small pod.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think too, COVID really, for me, it was like I had to decide who I was going to be intentional to keep in touch with, because my world and my family, like our house was, everybody was home, just like everybody was home all of a sudden. And it was a lot to sort of manage all the moving parts. Who needs Zoom here? Who's got to do this, right? And you couldn't go anywhere. So there's
plus I had to make everybody happy. So there was that.
There is that.
There is a boundary issue there.
And so I didn't really have the emotional bandwidth to sort of keep track of a lot of people. So it was like, who do I need to like be sure that I'm like checking in on them and we're talking and we're making intentional time, like getting on a Zoom happy hour or doing like a family game night or, something like that. And what organizations, did I kind of decide to do stuff with? It was really a time of, it just kind of pruned things, definitely made things smaller.
Yep. It's very interesting.
I know. And I was thinking about that today too. Like, what is that going to look like? What is it going to look like 2 or 3 years from now? Sort of when we're hopefully like, let's pray, we're really beyond this. Right. And then how we're going to look back and be like, wow, that was like a pivotal moment in this relationship or that relationship, or, oh, wow, before COVID, I used to go to the gym all the time. And then I never made it back to the gym. So now I don't talk to any of my gym friends, but I have this new thing that's in my life, or, something I've found out about myself. Yeah, it's definitely changed up the friendship game for sure. And I think every stage of motherhood for me did, because I think about like my first mom friends, first play group, and all the kids were really little and they were all of our firstborns. And, and then as we had our second babies, third babies, our first children or older children got involved in their activities. And so you kind of pulled away. You didn't have sort of that unstructured, I got to have a play date, I can do it whenever I want to kind of thing.
I actually paid to join a mom group. I forget through who, through the township or something. Did we live in Langhorne? No, I don't know. But yeah, I was looking for friends. Interesting.
Yeah. See, and I joined like the mom's Bible study at church, at our church, because there was only one at the time. And so I was like, okay, I need mom friends. But, all the moms in that group had much older children, kind of school age, at the,
oh, wow,
like toddler school age. And Megan was, an infant. And so my first group of mom friends were from Gymboree. Because like I signed Megan up for Gymboree classes, right? And
Miss Marilyn's music round.
Yeah, if you're local to our area, Miss Marilyn she is a icon, man.
But what we both experienced in different ways was being a working mom, which was different because we both worked part-time, right?
Yeah.
Around around our kids' schedules. But at the time, most of my neighbors did not work. So I was kind of the odd person out. And that was hard. They would do things and I'd be like, you want to come? And I'd be like, I have to work. Lots of that kind of stuff. And it's interesting. And at that age, boy, we're all so judgmental of each other, whatever there is no right decision. There really isn't. You just do the best you can at the time with your family.
Yeah.
And
make the best choice you can with whatever is,
and you're going to doubt your choice no matter what you do. You work, you stay home, nothing's easy, honestly. It is not easy to stay home and it is not easy to work and it's not easy to do it part-time. So
and I think part-time for me, at least, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You're used to that, but anyway, I remember thinking when my kids were little and I was working part-time, that you could people didn't need to know that I worked. Right. Because I worked night shift and I worked so there were some people in my life, I think, that didn't even realize that I worked because I was at the Monday at 1:00 kids music round class. Right. I wasn't working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, just doing things in the evenings or weekends, so I could. And so I felt like I had like one foot in both worlds, or stay-at-home mom, kind of all those expectations. But then I had a job that I had to, get up and get ready.
I totally felt like I had my hand in both camps, but everybody did know. My work people knew that I worked part-time, which was not usual at the time. It was something I negotiated to come to that job, was to work part-time when I had kids. And and my home friends knew, what days I worked and all of that stuff. So that was, I always felt like I was, not betraying, but I was like always late to work. I wasn't late. It was the hours that I was agreed upon, but I felt like I was,
Did you feel like you were constantly catching up? Because you'd be off a day and then you go into work and whatever happened.
And nobody did my job when I wasn't there. So it wasn't like I would just go into the same stuff. I basically just did a full-time job in part-time hours and pay. But whatever, that's a whole nother story.
Sounds like a great plan. Yeah, I guess for me as a nurse, it's different, because I was able to somebody give report and leave, and somebody, there'd be different patients when I would come in. But for me, I worked night shift, so nobody really understood the working at night. I was home during the day. So, and I did some of it to myself. I would get up, if there was something I wanted to go to, I would cut my sleep short and get up at 1:00 and go to the thing, to be with the moms, to feel like I was part of, the group or whatever. Yeah. And then my health just suffered. Exactly. I was just exhausted all the time. And I agree with what you said. Like, I feel like the older I've gotten, the more boundaries I have, maybe, or the more different expectations I have in relationship. Like we've talked about, when we've traveled together, like, it's so nice that you and I we don't even have to talk. Like, I don't, when we were at the beach, I feel like there was one whole day we like probably said like 2 words to each other. We read. It was
want to get ice cream, said things like that.
Want to go for a walk. Like, I'm getting antsy, whatever. Like, but it didn't feel like I want more of those types of relationships where I don't feel like I have to fill in the gaps because it's awkward feeling. Like
Right.
I never feel uncomfortable if you're quiet. Like I'm not secretly thinking like she's mad at me,
Right. No.
hates me, It's
Mm-mm.
like, no, we're just quiet, comfortable,
And
contemplative.
that's really hard to find. You are better at boundaries with people, and that's something I need to work on. Um, just, yeah,
Yeah.
something I need to work on.
Well, I mean, I've talked about Enneagram on
Yeah,
here a few times. And
I'm a
so
helper. Yeah.
yeah, you're a 2 and I'm an
Mhm.
8, which actually makes us really good. We complement each other really well. Um, because I feel like, you know, you need help with boundaries and I'm really good at boundaries.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm over boundaried. That's the negative side of an 8. Like
Mhm.
I've had to bring myself back sometimes.
Mhm.
I always say like for myself, I'll say like a boundary is like like a see-through fence. It is not a brick wall. Like for me, because I'll put boundaries up like that, like whew,
Right.
brick wall, you know. But it's
And mine's a
also
swinging door, which,
yours. Well, yours is a swinging door that other people have control of, and
right.
you don't,
Swing
right?
on my side. Yes,
Like
I
with no
do. I
latch.
just don't choose to do it.
Right.
I am well aware. Yes.
Yeah. But then when I'm at my best, like you bring out, I feel like the best in me as far as helping, because I'm good at helping, but sometimes I'm not as like innately
Mm.
seeing those needs as you are. I am with you. Probably you see it different because we're so close, but you'll do things. You'll be like, oh, I reached out to so-and-so. I need to check on them. And I'm always like, Linda's so good at checking on people. Like I'll kind of like not, it won't be in my consciousness all the time. And so by example, you've taught me how to kind of do that better, that like nurturing, helping
Yeah,
in a
it's
good,
and
healthy
it's
way,
finding the right balance, because you get a lot more done because you're not constantly like, let's check on that person. But part of that is part of my nature and who I am. So, I don't want to lose that, but kind of learning that we can't fix it for everybody, especially
Mm.
those we love, our children, our family. We want to make it better. And many times we are not called to do that. Let's ask God what he wants us to do, where to jump in and things like that.
But it's hard.
It's
It's
hard.
so
Yeah.
hard,
Super hard.
especially with our young adults, I think, just
Mm-hmm.
seeing like, that they need to figure stuff out, live their
Mm-hmm.
own life, make their own decisions, but
Mm-hmm.
you're like, I've done this before. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like take my advice, like don't make the same mistakes I made, or I wish I had known
Mm-hmm.
XYZ when I was, graduating college or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's crazy.
It is.
So when
It
you're in relationship with someone, like when you're in a friendship with someone, this might be a harder question, but what makes you feel seen? Because I think that's like a
mm-hmm.
general thing I talk to
Mm-hmm.
people about, that we just want to be seen, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
I think, we've done the love languages along with Enneagrams and strengths, and um, for people to notice, good friends to notice, things that I'm doing, um, and just say, hey, thanks. Or I don't need gifts. I don't need, things like that, but to be noticed, for what you're doing and affirming. I think, having friends in our life that affirm us and then challenge us when appropriate,
Mhm.
even if we don't want to be challenged. But always with, when you're challenged by someone that loves you, then,
Mhm.
even if it initially is like, what? Nuh-uh, it kind of sinks into your brain, and you realize that it's coming from that place. Because I think, especially for women, especially as we're younger, a lot of, um, bless her heart, help, is really criticism, veiled with a lot of, oozing charm or something of the sort.
Mhm.
So, differentiating, and we've all been victim to that. And I'm sure we've all done that. So, really realizing what affirmation and challenge is important to take hold of. And that would be from someone that loves you, someone that is a true friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
knows
think
you.
it's right, because it's that vulnerability,
Right.
challenging somebody on something can make you feel really vulnerable. And so it's not something that you should do with everyone.
Right.
There's got to be like that, that relationship established, because otherwise you're just really tromping over somebody's boundaries,
And I was thinking about how you and I, like, you are incredibly capable and strong and together. So that can be a false boundary for you because people just assume like, oh, Kemi's great. Jeffrey, it's not even a big deal. She handles it all the time, that kind of thing. And you don't like people to see you as weak or, can't handle it.
Nope.
And I don't like to bother people. So I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I can drive 50 places. That's fine.
It's fine. I've got it all. Yeah.
Right. No, absolutely. I will cancel my meeting. Absolutely. Because you need it, and I have a hard time letting people know that I need something because I don't want to be a burden or that kind of thing. So, you have to push at both of those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it is, I mean, you've challenged me with my strength sometimes to, in texts or calls, like, you don't have to be strong. What do you need? And there's not many people that I can be, open with about it, but that's come over time, that I can trust you with like that, like vulnerable part of myself. But that's come with like trust in a relationship and like, that we've
Right.
worked through this and done this. And I know I can depend on you. And same thing. I mean, I think when I can sense when you're doing a million things and I'm like, Linda, like, I really can help with one of, like, what do you need? It's okay. Like, I'm not gonna, but it is, I think it all goes back to judgment. Like, if we show our true selves to somebody, will they use it as like, ammunition or weaponize it, right? As opposed to like just really being okay with me not in my like perfect self, the way I look, perfectly, for me, perfectly strong, and for you, perfectly helpful. Will they see that like there's cracks in our veneer, of what the way
vulnerability, our good friend Brene.
I know. Oh, it's so painful though.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. Like it's important work, but it's especially as a young mom. Like I think about, just the judgments that I put on other mom friends, right? And then, but really it was just a reflection of the judgments of myself, right? So if I didn't judge somebody who was a stay-at-home mom, then I had to sit with the fact that like I had to quote work, right? So it's kind of saying like, no, we all made our own choices. I can look now and be like, neither one of those decisions was the wrong decision. That was what was right for my family. That was what was right for their family, positive and negatives to both. But I do think I maybe, not rejected isn't the right word, but maybe it is, like rejected some friendships because we weren't the same. That's definitely something I wanted when I was younger. And maybe that's just a developmental thing that we all just want to be the same. Like we're the same. We all believe. And now I'm like, I love diverse points of view and
You're very
and
good
people
at that.
who will kind of dig in with that with me. Like it's okay if we don't agree on everything, but like, we're not going to be mean about it. We're not going to be rude about it. Right. I don't have to like win every battle anymore. I used to.
And I love harmony. Sometimes
I wonder, I'm like, how are Linda and I friends? But you push back with me though.
Yeah. Now I meant in like social situations or family, I love when everybody gets along. I hate dissension in family and like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And the holidays are great for that. Now everybody's home. Yeah. Megan,
but
I don't know if you heard the noise.
Learned my boundaries there, that when I get over involved, I make it worse. So I'm learning to zip and call you.
Yeah. Just as driving me crazy. Don't say anything. Go for a walk. Go
Right.
for a walk. Let
Yeah.
them duke it out. Let them, especially as our kids become adults too,
Yeah.
because their adult relationship, I mean, that's got to be theirs, not ours. But it's hard.
Really
You go
hard.
from like, don't hit your brother. No, you have to share your toys.
Right.
No, right. We go from that to like, okay, now you're adults. Like you need to, or the teenagers fighting over clothes. She took my sweater. Blah, blah. And you're like, listen, you can't take our clothes. You got to ask, right? We go from that to like, oh, now you're adults. And like, you kind of have to figure this out, guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's very hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Relationships are interesting, but they do bring so much depth and love to your life. I feel very loved by you, my friend.
Well, I know I'm very loved by you.
100%. Well, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you for jumping on here with me last minute notice, saving my butt as usual. See, she's the helper.
Thanksgiving, everyone. Oops, by the time they hear this, it'll be after, but hope you had a happy Thanksgiving.
Exactly. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode.